Twitter has been on a tear in recent days, banning or suspending several high-profile users, leaving many to wonder where that fine line is. Manila Chan is following the story and has the details.
Good evening, Holland. And it's not only Twitter, by the way. We are seeing all the big social media tech giants like Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, all taking decisive action against particular individuals that they deem either defamatory in some way or not adhering to their terms of service, whatever those might be. And this is the slippery slope, ladies and gentlemen. Are Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube within their rights to curate what you can or cannot say, what you can or cannot see? You may have heard of the recent removal of the controversial Alex Jones channel from YouTube over what the company says is defamation and essentially the willful spread of fake news. But now Twitter has frozen the accounts of Ron Paul Institute Executive Director Daniel McAdams, as well as editor of antiwar.com Scott Horton. Now their accounts are still visible on the platform, but Twitter has removed their ability to tweet anything new, citing that they were threatening another user. Claims both men refute wholeheartedly, but the company's actions are garnering a firestorm of criticism from both average users as well as high-profile folks like this. Acclaimed New York Times best-selling author Tom Woods posted this to his Twitter. He criticized them, saying maybe someday there could be a major platform that just lets people talk and doesn't try to be your mother. And even harsher words from Kim.com, calling out the tech giants by name, saying Twitter, Facebook, Google, you betray your users by helping the deep state to spy on all. You politicize your platforms to manipulate public opinion. You shadow ban, censor, and attack free speech. Your tech is easy to replace, and your users will leave you. Your days are numbered. And thousands more have echoed that sentiment on their own social media pages, calling into question just how much freedom of speech anyone truly has on the internet. Now, to be clear, all these social media companies are just that. They are companies. They're not public property like, say, a sidewalk or a park. But in today's modern age, they are the new public squares and public parks. This is where people express their thoughts, their ideas, their beliefs, and there is public opinion received in return. Now, at present, there is no law that either protects your speech of any platform, barring those that are deemed threats or hate speech, nor are there any laws preventing tech giants from operating at their own discretion. In fact, likely buried in their million-word terms of service that nobody ever reads, you have likely agreed to act as they see fit. So you've likely signed away your rights by clicking the box to use their site. So, Holland, it's probably not going to stop there. It's not just controversial people like Alex Jones being affected by these tech giants. There are aspiring politicians like Elizabeth Heng in California, who's running for a House seat. Facebook refused to let her run an ad on their site, but her opponent seems to be able to. And there are academics and anti-war thought leaders like McAdams and Horton who have been hand-selected as targets by Silicon Valley as voices to be silenced. Holland?
And speak of the devil, at least in Twitter's estimation, joining us from Texas is Daniel McAdams, director of the Ron Paul Institute. Daniel, welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Hey, how personally are you taking this, or do you view your suspension from Twitter as just more of what seems to be a new editorial policy?
Well, I'm devastated. I'm seeking therapy. I mean, it's not about me. It's not about the group of us who are band together. I think it's a bigger issue, and it's an issue that's raised its head this week in a much larger way. For example, the complete coordinated banning of someone like Alex Jones, like him or not, from virtually all social media. It's a new trend that's happening. Whereas if you hear someone you like on social media, that's fine. If it's someone you dislike, you don't mute the person, you don't unsubscribe, you call the Twitter police or the Facebook police and have that person completely purged. And it's a very dangerous trend that one must not only blame Twitter and Facebook and others for, but we must look into ourselves and blame ourselves, blame this generation, unfortunately, that's reacting that way. The problem is deeper than just these corporate platforms.
Well, that's very fair of you under the circumstances, because arguably Twitter and Facebook are in a tough place while they're trying to purge the fake news and the hate speech and all of that, and yet remain an open forum. They are kind of between a rock and a hard place, aren't they?
Well, unfortunately, in a way, they've jumped into bed with government, and that's part of their problem. They're seeking to please people on Capitol Hill who have a political agenda. They want to narrow the debate. They don't like places like Twitter, particularly, and Facebook, because people like me, who are not part of the people like us who are not part of the legacy media, we're not New York Times shapers of opinion, we're also allowed to have our say. So if someone from the New York Times or the Washington Post puts something up that we know is false, we can refute it almost in real time. That's very threatening, I think, for the powers that be. So Twitter and Facebook run up to Capitol Hill and they say, hey, you need to silence these people. You need to narrow the field of debate. They say, yes, sir, please give us more instructions. So they've made a bed that they're now having to lie in, and really the victim is all of us.
The most conspicuous contributor, the first tweeter, is President Trump. But for some time now, conservatives have accused social media of being tougher on righties than they are of lefties. Now it seems that libertarians are under the spotlight. You feeling the heat?
Well, I think that is the case, and I think it's easy to put everyone in categories, but I think who really are being victimized, it's not just the libertarians in the right. There are people that are just slightly left of center who are also being marginalized or being shadow banned. When they post something, it doesn't immediately appear. They're lower on Google than others. So really, it's not necessarily a left-right thing. I think it's people who are outside this narrowly accepted, and even more narrowly by the day accepted, spate of opinion that we're allowed to have in the U.S. I think it's very dangerous for the future of political debate in the U.S. This tendency to want to shut people down if they disagree with you is very dangerous. It's going down a very slippery slope toward totalitarianism.
What do you see as the future of the internet, Twitter, tech giants in general, if they continue operating like this?
Well, I'm certainly no fan of the state, and the last thing I'd want to see would be government getting involved because government loves what Twitter and Facebook are doing. As I said, they love the narrowing of debate. I just had a show on a Ron Paul Liberty Report where we had two others who were banned at the same time, Peter Van Buren, former State Department official, and Scott Horton of antiwar.com. And Scott made a very good point. He said, in the future, why do we even have to have a Facebook and a Twitter? Why is it going to be a website? Theoretically, in the future, you could have a kind of technology where it's not centrally located on a website. You are your own Twitter, and you create your own social network this way. And I'm not up to date on all of the technology, but certainly that is possible. So a decentralization, so you can't have one guy called Jack deciding that this guy goes, disappears, this guy disappears. So I think that is hopefully the future that we can see. Yeah,
it seems inevitable because the genie's out of the bottle. Thank you, Daniel McAdams, Executive Director of the Ron Paul Institute.
Hey YouTube, thanks for checking out our channel. We hope you enjoyed the video. We have tons of content for you just like this. For more of RT America's one-of-a-kind news and analysis, be sure to subscribe and never stop questioning more.